You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for December 16th, 2025. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we and you and everyone we know are coming to the end of a genuinely awful year. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. Yeah, this is a really bad year. This is a bad, grueling, exhausting year. The kind of year the late, great Queen Elizabeth referred to as an annus horribilis.
1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
But 2025 wasn't just awful, it was different, categorically different. Something fundamental about this country has changed, and whatever comes next, things will not be like they were before. America has once again lost its innocence. It happened after the Civil War. It happened after both world wars. It happened during the Civil Rights Movement and Watergate, the Vietnam War. It happens when a great myth about the American character or destiny runs headlong into some very ugly truths that we would rather have stayed in the closet. And the myth is shattered, leaving us groping to understand who the hell we really are as a country.
Yeah. Now, you used to teach history, right, Blue Gal?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
to seventh graders.
Yeah. You didn't give the down and dirty, did you?
No. Oh, yeah, I did.
Well, you did talk about Eleanor Roosevelt, right?
I told them I worship the ground she walked on, and they'd better do it, too, if they wanted to pass my class.
Yeah, that's the kind of history class we need more of. Now, back when Nixon and Watergate, you and I were both around for Nixon and Watergate.
Yeah.
And I remember it pretty well. I mean, that was, I was a young teenager at the time. Back when those things were tearing this country apart, the late, great Barbara Jordan, Democrat of Texas, if you can believe it, made it clear that her faith in America rested on the Constitution. This is Congresswoman Jordan on January 24th, 1974, during the Watergate hearings.
Earlier today, we heard the beginning of the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. We the people. It's a very eloquent beginning. But when that document was completed on the 17th of September in 1787, I was not included in that we the people. I felt somehow for many years that George Washington and Alexander Hamilton just left me out by mistake. But through the process of amendment, interpretation, and court decision, I have finally been included in we the people. Today I am an inquisitor, and hyperbole would not be fictional and would not overstate the solemnness that I feel right now. My faith in the Constitution is whole, it is complete, it is total, and I am not going to sit here and be an idle spectator to the diminution, the subversion, the destruction of the Constitution.
But that was a different time. By the way, just listen to Barbara Jordan once or twice a year and it'll lift you up. She's just remarkable woman. But that was a time when our Supreme Court could vote 9-0 in favor of the Constitution and against a corrupt president's wishes, and when that corrupt president felt compelled to abide by the court's decision. It was a time when enough Republicans felt loyal to our country and our Constitution enough to side with Democrats on the Watergate Committee, making the vote genuinely bipartisan. And when, according to Senate Minority Leader Hugh Scott, 85 senators would have voted to convict Richard Nixon.
Yeah. Yeah. There were 15 that were, hardcore Nixonites who would never vote to convict, but 85 would vote to convict.
And he would have been gone, convicted and gone. Yeah, never. And our history would have changed. Yeah, and he knew, but our history would have changed. Because then there would have been accountability for what he had done.
Well, this is why Roger Ailes created Fox News, was to make sure that never happened again.
And it never has.
In our time, 6 corrupt Republican fanatics on that same Supreme Court routinely break their oaths and subvert the Constitution to give a corrupt president virtually unlimited and unchecked power. In our time, if the courts occasionally go against him, that corrupt president feels free to ignore those rulings. In our time, the entire Republican Party has enslaved itself to Donald Trump. And no matter how openly deranged he becomes, they will not only not lift a finger to stop him, they will cheer him on and push his lies, including the lie that the 2020 election was stolen. And remember that the entire cabinet had to pass that litmus test to get their jobs.
Yep.
They had to lie and say that the 2020 election was, quote unquote, stolen.
And Mike Lindell, this week or next, is going to come out with the bombshell.
Oh, again?
And more evidence, Blue Gal. It's just stacking up everywhere.
Yeah, well, he's running for governor. And Tim Walz, we laughed about this last week.
We did. Please.
Because Tim Walz announced for Mike Lindell, hey, everybody, guess who's running against me?
In case you missed it. Just in case you missed it. Yeah.
That's not a good sign for the Republicans. No. When the Democrat is excited to let you know who is running as a Republican.
Very excited. So
terribly, terribly excited to let you know. Okay. Anyway, most damning of all, ours is a time when tens of millions of our fellow citizens are not just okay with all of this, they're thrilled by it. They nominated this monster 3 times and elected him president twice.
Yeah. And you know what Ian Fleming says about that? Once is accident, twice is coincidence. 3rd time is enemy action.
Enemy action.
Yeah, they've done it 3 times. This is not an accident. So however much we may want to place our faith in the Constitution, and Lord knows we do, it really is all just words on paper unless its intentions and injunctions are enforced and enforceable. We live in a time when the Republican Party and conservative media have successfully created a mob of bigoted, ignorant voters who desperately want a dictator and have no use for the Constitution at all. They built a doomsday machine, as we've said on this podcast many times, a doomsday machine with no off switch. So how can we, the people, place our faith in the Constitution when the institutions which are supposed to protect it, that'd be the Congress, the White House, and the Supreme Court, are all in the hands of thugs and fanatics who want to destroy it? Now, Lincoln, Abraham, who was buried 1.5 miles from our house, by the way, lived in a very different time than ours, but in explaining what was required of the Congress and the country back then, he somehow managed to explain what is now required of us in the here and now. And this is from his December 1st, 1862 message to Congress. Quote, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so must we think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our country." Unquote.
Now, we too must disenthrall ourselves of some comforting myths if we are to save our country. We have to stop pretending the legacy media is our ally in this fight.
They're just not.
They are not. They are no longer anything but a corporation.
Yep.
A series of corporations interested in stock price, not in journalism. They are either actively anti-democratic or actively spread the both sides do it lie, which enables the enemies of democracy. We must stop pretending that the tens of millions who voted for Trump 3 times have just made an honest mistake or are suffering some kind of fever that will one day break. And I mean, I'm talking to you, Barack Obama.
Yeah.
The fever's never going to break.
It's not a fever. It's a function of being Republican.
So that's not going to happen. And we must face the fact that whoever they were 20 or 30 years ago, they are now committed to fascism, and they are enemies of liberal democracy. Whether it's because they don't know any better or they actively love it.
Doesn't matter.
Is immaterial.
Yeah.
Yeah. But every day, we all face a fire hose of madness from the right. Therefore, finding clear perspectives and a firm footing from which to fight for democracy is a real challenge. Yesterday's Republican travesties are blotted out by today's Republican atrocities, And soon it all starts to blur together until you realize that it's now mid-December. And holy shit, this relentless tsunami of chaos and treason has been packed into just the last 11 months.
Yeah. That really has been kind of a last week.
And I just want to do an aside here. We realize that this past weekend in particular has been a very concentrated hose of evil and bad things and sad things.
Yep.
And we have been planning for a week to do sort of a year-end review this week. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we will get to the things that happened this weekend in our next show or next couple of shows. We mourn with all of you the violence that's happened, and we are going to talk about it at some point, but we want to put 2025 in perspective.
Yeah, because understanding what Donald Trump said about Rob Reiner and his family.
Yeah. Well, every other podcast is doing that too.
Right. But it's important to understand, and most of our listeners already do, but the context in which that awful, monstrous thing comes. Mm-hmm. It didn't come out of nowhere. No one has any right to be surprised that Donald Trump is an awful, despicable, evil human being. And the people who support him are terrible people. Mm-hmm. The people who voted for him are terrible people or stupid or bigots or all of the above. This is, that the time for being surprised at any of this has long since passed. And since 2025 is the year he was, reelected and inaugurated, and it's been a full year so far of Donald Trump and the Republican Party doing everything they promised they do, it's really important to stop for a moment and look back and see just how much has happened, how much we have lost forever, and what we have to do to get our country back. Mm-hmm. And there's signs of hope out there. But without diagnosing the problem correctly, we're never going to get to the solution. So in aid of putting 2025 into some kind of perspective for ourselves, and for you, we thought it would be wise to do a year in review episode and not a year in review of everything. That's not possible. We don't do fashion, no sports or literature. We'd love to do more science fiction, but we haven't done so much of that this year. Just American politics and media. And even then, not a single year in review episode, but maybe a couple of them, because 2025 has been the longest decade of our lives.
Damn straight.
Yeah. However, after wading in waist deep into 2025 for a few days now, it was obvious to us that this was going to be even trickier than we thought. Because when you think about it, for example, something as complex as the Nixon presidency, very complicated, but if you wanted to do a politics year in review of like 1974, there'd be a lot of material to cover, true, but most of the important stuff falls neatly along a single timeline. You could cheat a little bit. You could include like the late 1973 and things like the Saturday Night Massacre, and you could cover the highlights of most important political scandal of that age in a relatively linear way.
Yeah, but with Trump and the Republicans, there are so many Watergate-level scandals running at the same time, so many dimensions that, I don't know if it's that the timeline doesn't really do the totality of it justice,
right? Or
if we just don't have, 50 years of perspective.
Yeah.
But regardless, we don't have 50 years of perspective on this year.
No, we're living in this year.
We're living in it. So, there are so many individual but overlapping themes happening all at the same time in 2025 as we're living through it. Trump truly is a chaos agent. For example, just consider the Trump administration's corruption.
The financial corruption.
That has been my phrase of 2025. It's the corruption stupid.
Yeah.
Not all the corruption, just the worst of it, which is still orders of magnitude worse than any other administration in American history. In May, Qatar bribed Trump and his administration with a $400 million Boeing 747, a present reportedly worth more than all foreign gifts bestowed on all former American presidents combined, and a plane Trump intends to keep after he leaves office. And after the American taxpayers foot the bill for hundreds of millions of dollars worth of upgrades. And I don't know if that money has been approved by Congress.
Doesn't matter.
He's just spending it.
Yeah, Russell Vought will go get it somewhere.
Right, exactly. That there's no budget process that matters anymore.
No. And again, that's the problem with tariffs is Donald Trump has created there's a million problems with it, but he's created his own independent source of income.
Right.
Do whatever he wants. This is like the Iran-Contra slush fund on steroids.
Exactly.
A private economy that one corrupt lunatic controls, and that corrupt lunatic is sitting in the Oval Office. That's just one thing. Consider World Liberty financial scam, which is part of the Trump family's overall crypto bribery money laundering machine, which is completely separate from the Trump meme coin scam. They're two different financial scams running at the same time, right next to each other. Just money, 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 money.
Not to mention the Trump phone, but that's small potatoes, right?
Yeah. Well, and there are big scandals like Trump's global real estate shopping spree, which is underwritten by foreign governments and assorted billionaires, just buying up properties all over the world. And then there are the smaller scandals, like the discovery in 2025 that in 2024, before Trump's election, his future border czar, Tom Homan, allegedly accepted a $50,000 payment, or if you prefer, bribe, from undercover federal agents posing as business executives. Homan reportedly indicated he could assist them to secure government contracts should Trump win, and there is said to be a tape somewhere in the hands of the government.
The government meaning Kash Patel, I guess. There's Trump's $300 million ballroom boondoggle in the middle of the longest government shutdown ever while federal workers were going without pay and standing in bread lines. Trump bulldozed the entire east wing of the White House to build a massive, grotesque $300 million plus ballroom. It was so egregious that ChatGPT would not agree that it had actually happened.
I remember you running in and saying, "Can you believe this?" Yeah. ChatGPT says, "No, that couldn't possibly."
That did not happen. He did not bulldoze the east wing of the White House.
No.
When we had pictures from CNN on my computer saying it had happened.
Yeah.
And who can forget Amazon Prime Video presents Melania?
Yeah.
2 weeks before Trump's inauguration, Amazon Prime Video announced that it was releasing a documentary about Melania Trump, a $40 million bribe from Amazon. Other themes that are shot through these last 12 months are the reckless speed and destructiveness of the fascists, the unraveling of Trump's mental state in public, and all the big American institutions which sold out so easily, the pretense of shock by the legacy media, the almost Newtonian action-reaction of legacy media both-siderists. The more psychotic Trump got, the harder they worked to blame both sides. Mm-hmm. And the souring of the base and their desperation to avoid blaming Trump, the Republicans in Congress, and most of all, themselves for what is happening.
Yeah.
A term describing those Trump supporters became the acronym of the year. FAFO. Fuck around, find out.
Yeah. So just huge stuff. Huge stuff. We could go on for 100 episodes and not begin to scratch the surface. On the other hand, this is in fact a podcast. This is not Rick Perlstein's future 11-volume Nobel Prize winning history of the Trump presidency. So please bear with us. We know we're going to miss some stuff. So be calm.
But Rick Perlstein won't miss some stuff. He'll get it all. So just hold on. He's a friend of ours.
Yeah.
We can poke a little bit at how detail-oriented he is.
Yeah. And like George R.R. Martin, it might take him, I don't know, a generation to finish the entire thing because there is so much garbage to be written about.
Yeah.
But we have faith that he'll be on the job.
Yep. And for the record, we blame friend of the podcast, Batocchio. Batocchio, we blame you personally for this.
You did this to us, Batocchio.
His blog, Vagabond Scholar, and his dedication every year to continuing the tradition, and we are well aware of internet traditions, aren't we, Driftglass?
Yeah, absolutely are.
He does an annual John Swift Memorial, Best of the Blogs, and of course, he always asks us, what was your best thing? What was your best podcast? What was your best post at Driftglass?
Yeah.
And so that sent us looking through our archives. And again, at the risk of repeating ourselves, holy shit, 2025 has been a very long 10 years, Driftglass.
It has been a very long 10 years, Blue Gal. So let us begin with the formal portion of our show with the people who brought you the 2025 you never wanted. This is my January 20th, 2025 ode to the low information voters.
And it's a very good, I really want to compliment you on this. This is a very good poem. It really is.
Thank you. Occasionally I have to break genre and just do something else because my writing brain requires that I do a graphic or 10 graphics or some poetry or something, anything. We've got some haiku in here. Later in the later podcast, we'll do haikus and stuff. But this is written literally on the day that Donald Trump was inaugurated, January 20th. Deep breath. Because I know you are so very, very busy that you have no time to know anything at all, I will keep this brief. I know you are far too busy driving Chinese toys and cigarettes and pressboard furniture across the continent to pay attention to anything except double clutching and yellow lines and the radio, which is playing Hannity and Rogan and Savage and Levin and Beck and Shapiro and Kirk and Savage and Prager and Larson and, of course, the game. And maybe you have just enough time to stop off at that Ohio diner and tell the New York Times foreign correspondents permanently stationed there about the caravans of illegals and the price of eggs and shoplifting in San Diego. And yet, somehow, you are also a single mother, raising 9 kids and working 9 jobs, who has no time to think about anything except making correct change and getting the order right, and who's up and who's out at The Masked Singer, and can you believe the bullshit judging on Dancing with the Stars, and dropping it on focus groups to explain how tariffs work and the illegals making houses so expensive and why Kamala Harris cannot be trusted. Did you know she slept her way to the top and that her father is a communist? And you remember hearing something about January 6th, or maybe it was the 7th or whatever. You're not exactly sure what, but strangely, you're also 24 and a dude. And you have no girlfriend, which is fine. It's really fine because you're just crazy busy all the time with stuff like Call of Duty and GTO and Diablo 4 and your shitty job where customers ask you the stupidest questions and bitch about everything like you're Mr. CVS and how come fucking Joe Biden will pay off those rich college fuckers' bills but won't make weed legal in your state. And someday you're going to be making real money with MMA because you practice your moves in your garage. But it's hard to relax when everything is so fucked up. And yeah, you know, the price of stuff and crime and shit. And what we need is a badass MMA guy to kick some ass because respect, got to have respect. Chicks go for that like magnets. And you remember hearing on Twitter something about COVID being a scam. And somehow you're also a retired couple living well, but you hear all these things on the news. And it's all so bad. It's so bad. Never been so bad. Sure, you're okay, doing okay, but you're out there just over the horizon. The country is in ruins. And unemployment has never been higher. And DEI caused the California wildfires. And what's going on college campuses, which is just shameful. And inflation is out of control. And crime gangs run blue cities. And the government is giving all your money, our money, to moochers and foreign wars, and everyone knows Biden was being controlled by you-know-who. And do your own research, because everything is out of control, and it's never been this bad before, ever. The end.
Ode to the Low Information Voter by Driftglass.
Who put us here. Who put Donald Trump over the top. Who got that asshole elected.
Because they saw an Elon Musk-funded ad about trans people.
Yes.
And that was it.
Oh my God! Did you see the thing on the TV? Did you see it on the internet? It's on the internet about the trans people, and you know, and the ads about crime gangs running cities, cats and dogs being eaten by foreigners. Yeah. And
I've been thinking a lot this week about science fiction and the science fiction dystopia that we're living through, where, you know, not too long ago, everyone in America and everyone around the world was given a little box that gave them all of the information in the universe at their fingertips.
Yeah.
And fed it to them. And bad actors took advantage and let them know things about things.
Mm-hmm.
And they acted on the information they got from that little box. And here we are.
Well, and it didn't start off neutrally.
No.
All that box gives you is what you seek.
Yeah, right.
And if you walk into that neutral environment carrying hatred in your heart, belief that liberals are responsible for everything and the Jews are pulling everyone's
It'll
string.
give you more of that. Right.
It will tell you, because there's a whole market out there for people to tell you what you want to hear. And that market is not just MAGA assholes, not just the anti-Semites, not just the lunatics. That market are upscale, reasonably well-educated people who read the New York Times and want to believe it's both sides all the time. It's both sides. And if only the centrists, if only the extremes on both sides would just stop it and everyone would listen to David Brooks, then everything would be fine. And they're just as big a cult as MAGA is, but they're more respectable, so nobody calls them out.
I've told the story about breaking my dad's heart.
Yeah.
About that.
Oh, yeah.
Biden's falling apart. Biden's collapsing. Biden's too old. Biden can't do it. Biden can't be president anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I instantly realized he's reading Peter Baker every day.
Yes, he is.
And thinking he's informed.
That's right. And 2 generations ago, that and NPR might have been sufficient.
Yep.
My parents had books by the front door that were complicated and big, and they were well read.
Yep.
But it used to be the aspiration of everyone to be better, to better understand,
to improve themselves intellectually. Yes.
Yes, it did.
Well, on January 5th, the New York Times' Peter Baker went all hot dog guy. We're all trying to find out who did this. This is Peter Baker in the New York fucking Times, quote, "For all of his dystopian rhetoric, by many traditional metrics, the America that Trump will inherit from Biden is actually in better shape than that bequeathed to any newly elected president since Bush came into office in 2001. You mean when Clinton left him the White House and the economy that was on fire and doing very well?
Budget surplus? You mean the budget surplus?
Had a budget surplus, and the deficit was scheduled to be paid off in a decade?
No. The deficit was paid off. The debt.
The national debt. That's right.
Yeah.
Scheduled to be paid off in a decade at that rate of economic growth. Yeah, amazing. Oh, no, but that's your money. We're going to do tax cuts for billionaires. And a war for oil. By the way, war for oil. Sound familiar?
And another tax cut, because what the hell? Why not have more tax cuts?
So this led many wags to ask, where was all this Biden actually kicked ass reporting back when it mattered?
Yeah.
Do you remember that even before Trump was sworn in, even before Trump was inaugurated, health care was an issue? This from State Line on January 19th talked about the consequences of red states refusing to expand Medicaid. Quote, in the 10 states that didn't expand Medicaid, all but one of them, by the way, is in the Deep South. Wonder why. 1.6 million people can't afford health insurance. The majority of residents in this coverage gap are people of color, an analysis found. Nearly 1 of every 5 uninsured working-age adults across the 10 states that have not expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act are, according to a new analysis, stuck in a healthcare limbo known as a coverage gap. That means they earn too much money to receive Medicaid, but not enough to qualify for financial help to purchase their own plan on the marketplace. In Alabama and Mississippi, more than a quarter of uninsured working-age adults are left with no affordable pathways to health coverage. Overall, 1.6 million adults ages 19 to 64 face this situation in non-Medicaid expansion states, unquote. Well, guess what, Driftglass? They're going to get that lack of coverage rate up, America.
By 10 times, 20 times?
Yeah.
And then guess what's going to happen, Blue Gal?
Mike Johnson said, look, expanding the ACA subsidies was not to be.
Like it
as
was
he canceled all the votes.
Right. Like it was ordained by Jesus or just an act of weather, just like a tsunami or
it was
hurricane.
Ordained by the remaining Koch brother. That's who it was ordained by.
Yeah. And, well, this time we know how to deal with the people who are going to be mad about it.
What was it last time? 41 seats in the House flipped?
Yeah, something like that. But remember, we're just doing 2025.
That's all we're doing.
We're in January of 2025. And all these headlines were from the same day that Blue Gal was just talking about, January 9th, 2025. Same day. From the Rolling Stone, quote, right-wingers are blaming the LA fires on diversity. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and commentators across the conservative media are blaming the blazes on everything but the climate crisis, unquote. This is from Vanity Fair. quote, right-wing pundits blame DEI and Democrats in predictable deluge of wildfire misinformation. They prioritize DEI over saving lives and homes, Elon Musk claimed, falsely because he's a lying sack of shit, in one indicative post from Le Monde. Quote, Trump slams Democrats, blames Governor Newsom for deadly fires in Los Angeles, unquote. So honestly, how can anyone pretend to be surprised by the inexcusably obscene shit Trump said after Rob Reiner and his wife were murdered? Yeah. He's a despicable, rotten human being for whom there's no redeeming features. And 77 million Americans think he is the second coming of Christ. So maybe
yesterday, when that came out, there were 4 or 5 right-wing podcasters who came out, including Megyn Kelly, saying he should delete that. That's not right. That's not good. And then today they're all on their podcast again saying, how bad of a parent was Rob Reiner that his kid did this? And that's now the theme. It's not, we're going to blame the victim immediately after, less than 24 hours after Donald Trump said vicious, evil shit.
Right. And
because we have to change the subject.
Well, that happens all the time. They get a little icky feeling in their tummy and say, Mr. President, maybe you should think through. I respect you greatly. I think you're wonderful. They're awful. Would you like me to name my firstborn after you? But I think that might have gone a little too far. And then you find out you've been fired.
Right.
Or you've been canceled. And the mob has come for you and your family. So they all know better. They all know that in the middle of the night, they're going to get a call from the White House saying, how fucking dare you?
Yep.
Donald Trump's going to reach out and liquefy you. So you damn well better get back.
And they're now in a horrible situation in terms of audience. Audience is just caving because audience can't afford groceries, and Donald Trump this is load-bearing lie time, as you've said.
Right.
Where their grocery bill fact checks Donald Trump every day.
Right. And his response to the people like that is, you're stupid and you're wrong. Shut up.
And you're believing a hoax.
Right.
It's a Democrat hoax that you can't afford ground beef.
Right.
Yeah. Leading up to Trump's second inauguration, the Republican lies about January 6th, 2021 got crazier and crazier. And the legacy media dutifully reported them, because fairness.
Gotta be fair.
We're just reporting. We have to report what Republicans say. Republicans will tell you.
We're teaching the controversy, Blue Guy. You got to teach the controversy.
Right. It's controversial. Mm-hmm. So this from the Maddow blog, quote, Donald Trump hasn't exactly made an effort to hide his eagerness to pardon January 6th criminals once he returns to the White House. In a recent post-election interview with Time magazine, the president-elect not only said he intends to issue those pardons, he added that he hopes to do so maybe within the first 9 minutes of his second term. There's long been some question, however, about the scope of his plan. With this in mind, Trump's comments during his latest Mar-a-Lago news conference raised plenty of eyebrows. The New York Times reported President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday once again left open the possibility of offering pardons to some of his supporters who are serving prison time for assaulting police officers during the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Mr. Trump, who campaigned on a pledge to restore law and order, said that the pardons he intended to offer could cover people charged and convicted of violent crimes. Asked specifically about possible pardons for Jan 6 criminals convicted of violent offenses, the Republican told reporters, well, we're looking at it. He added that he'll be making major pardons, yes. Asked if he'd pardon those who violently clashed with police officers, Trump replied, well, the only one who was killed was a beautiful young lady named Ashley Babbitt, and added that she was shot for no reason whatsoever. He was, of course, lying about the circumstances surrounding Babbitt's death and badly misstating the casualties from the Jan 6 assault. Trump insisted that the rioters were unarmed, telling reporters this would be the only insurrection in history where people went in as insurrectionists with not one gun. There wasn't one gun that they found. This was brazenly false. For the first time ever, Trump suggested that the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants might have been involved in the Jan 6 attack, which was utterly bonkers even for him. An aside there, he apparently pardoned the Hezbollah militants responsible on January 6th because he did a blanket pardon for everybody. He was asked about parsing this out and maybe not pardoning those guilty of seditious conspiracy. Mm-hmm. And he said, fuck it, do them all, and walked away.
That's right.
And so there was an auto pen. There absolutely was.
Oh, and they have gone back and altered signatures since then, as I understand it, just to make it look, more natural.
To have him actually sign them?
No, to make it look more natural or whatever the fuck. But, it going back and forth between every one of those people was a patriot, fighting for America to the FBI instigated it, and it was a bunch of
It was Hezbollah, yes.
And remember, he's talking to a bunch of 70+ million brain-dead meatheads who can hold both those thoughts in their head at the same time.
Sure.
Because on the one hand, we are patriots. On the other hand, it was terrible, and it was not done by us. And somehow their brains are so fried, they can believe both of those things at the same time.
Well, do you remember the interview with the Tea Party woman who was upset about Barack Obama being a Muslim and also about Reverend Wright?
Yes, I do. And you can watch them process their errors and then move to the secondary lie.
Yeah.
Always have a lie behind that lie.
Yeah, right. And turn their eyeballs to the side and say, oh, come on.
Come on. I've done my own research. And then you realize at some point you're dealing with a robot.
Right.
You're dealing with an automaton. And you don't need to respect their opinion because they don't have opinions. They have programming. And the programming just changes from day to day depending on what the dear leader needs them to say.
And Fox News and Hate Radio and all of those places are brainwashing operations, not news outlets. And I don't know how we get to the point where we take these institutions down for being brainwashing operations, because brainwashing operations do not have constitutional protection.
Well, I think you and I talked about this just the other day. If you don't mind me just
go ahead.
Breaking news in the podcast, the next Democratic president of the United States seizes Fox News. Because it's not news. And you can go through court transcripts of people of Sean Hannity, whoever else was saying this under oath, saying that nobody in their right mind believes this is news. This is just opinions. This is just stuff we say. No honest person can possibly believe that what we are doing is news. Well, then, and it's also a private corporation.
Yeah,
and so you have a private.
You are not a news institution. You are not protected by the First Amendment.
It's a print shop that cranks out garbage.
Yeah,
and so you seize control of it. As president who has unlimited power, according to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, right. Take some of that unlimited power.
You seize control of it. You fire everybody on staff, except you keep the engineers, and you hire all the liberal podcasters, liberal bloggers.
Now he's having a fantasy.
But here's the thing. That particular entity is already plugged into cable. It's already there. So you don't need to swap anything out. You need to swap the graphics out, but you just need new people coming in, and you'll already, and they'll turn it off and they'll go to Newsmax. It doesn't matter. But take the Hydra's head off and cauterize it. Fox News is the point source for a lot of the misery that we see around us, and Hate Radio is too.
You've just done a commercial for Gavin Newsom for president, which, as you and I discussed in the kitchen the other day, Driftglass, I don't think this particular podcast is going to be neutral in the 2028 primaries.
No, we're not. No.
We love our governor very, very, very much.
Yes.
So you're going to get a pro-Pritzker podcast for as long as he runs.
Yeah. Well, I can see Pritzker from my house, We
can see Pritzker from our house.
We can stand on our roof. We can see the governor's mansion from here. And
we absolutely can drive to the governor's mansion in 10 minutes.
Yeah. So on
a bad traffic day. Oh my gosh. You know how the traffic is in Springfield, Driftglass.
It is to laugh, Blue Gal. Traffic and parking here are the two, if you lived anywhere else for any length of time. The complaints about traffic and parking here are
hilarious.
Are just
parking
hilarious.
Is free in downtown Springfield after 5.
Yeah, and you can get anywhere you want in 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Anywhere.
That's when the school's let out. It's all the kids driving home from school. That's when you see traffic. That's it. That's it. All right, back to it. Just the last paragraph of this Mattoblog article. And Trump insisted that the FBI was directly involved in orchestrating the assault on the Capitol.
FBI was working with Hezbollah.
And the FBI director was the man he had appointed.
Right.
Adding, nobody reported it. In reality, of course, nobody reported on the conspiracy theory because the conspiracy theory has been thoroughly and completely discredited, including by the Justice Department's Inspector General. Again, the director of the FBI during the Biden administration was a Trump appointee.
And remember, this is why you fire inspectors general. Because
he fired all the inspector general.
This is why you fire the Bureau of Labor Statistic people who like numbers, because they're bad numbers. If nobody talks about it, then it never happened.
It's Orwellian, like we all know it's Orwellian, and it's a show.
It's stupid 1984.
Nonstop stupid reality show at the White House.
All right, and we're still in January of 2025. January 16th, 2025, I was writing about the inevitable rebranding that would come after the inevitable catastrophes, but how post-Trump rebranding would look different than post-Bush rebranding. And here I am shamelessly quoting myself, quote, "The difference between the before time and now is that back then it was still possible for a tiny bit of light from the outside world to leak into their ideological bunker. Republicans could still see the failures in Iraq and Bush's criminally incompetent response to Hurricane Katrina through a small, cracked legacy media window on the wider world. So what lesson did they take from being humiliated by Bush's lies and incompetence? The lesson that those holes and leaks needed to be boarded up and spackled over right now. Next time, they needed to get themselves an even bigger, louder liar who would tell even bigger, louder lies." And that's just what they did. One who would never back down in the face of potentially humiliating reality, but would unflinchingly live out this lesson from A Guide for the Married Man. Deny, 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 unquote.
Under the heading of general themes, we should have mentioned that 2025 was the year when David Brooks of the New York Times, Driftglass Bête Noire, fully returned to his pre-Trump both-siderist fanaticism. By February, the tone police were out in force, specifically former Republicans like David Frum telling Democrats how to behave if they ever wanted to win again. Don't be mean. Don't call them names. Smile and be nice. Quote, "Fight Trump where he's most vulnerable, not where progressive interest groups are most isolated and most dogmatic. Build unity from the center rather than indulge the factionalism of the ultra-left." You know, I love that David Frum still believes there's an ultra-left out there.
Ultra-left, yeah, oh yeah.
A great many Americans despise Trump for the basic reason that he's a very nasty person who speaks in demeaning ways and does cruel things. The movement to stop him should look and sound and act nice. Dear class, when I pay my health insurance in January, I'm not going to be nice.
No.
If you get reprimanded for respectability politics or caricatured as cringe or scolded for appealing to suburban wine moms, that's when you'll know you're doing it right, unquote. You know, I resemble that remark.
Yes. Well, and we've already done on this podcast many times a reprise of, gee, isn't that what the Obama administration tried to do for 8 years?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened after that, David Frum? Your party nominated and elected the king of the birthers. So nice didn't fucking work.
Nope.
So we're going to try something else now, which is fuck around and find out.
Well, and the base isn't there with that. The base isn't up with that. And that's because January 6th broke us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if January 6th didn't break us, fucking a porn star and lying about it on your taxes and getting 34 felony convictions over it broke us.
Yeah. And then getting elected.
And then getting elected after that because, you know, I had no choice, as one farmer in Illinois said. That broke our niceness gene.
Yeah. Well, that's the part about disenthralling ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of, we still have to be civil and we have to want the best for people, but we do not have to treat people who have sworn themselves an oath of blood on the lives of their children to hate us and destroy us at any cost. We do not have to treat them as friends or countrymen or decent human beings. We can point to them and say, that's the enemy. Those are the people trying to wreck our democracy, and we should be treating them accordingly. And there's no reason to be nice to people who are trying to destroy your life and your country. It's insane. The idea that you should hug these, we're going to hug it out with these Nazis is ludicrous.
Yep.
Now, if you've been paying attention to the rapid colonization of our media by never-Trumpers like David Frum, And notice that who's being elevated, that would be former Republicans and neocons. And who's being shunned as pariahs, that'd be liberals. It sure as hell looks like the real project here, the real Never Trump project here, is to turn the Democratic Party of 2025 into the Republican Party of 2005, when they were all doing so great. Because this is not how an ally who has been allowed into our midst against the better judgment of several of us and on what should have been a very fucking conditional probation. This is not how such a person talks. This is how a colonizer tells you to step aside because they're going to run things.
Get off your land because I'm here now.
Yeah. From?
Yep. This is from February 1st, 2025. The Guardian reports, quote, the Trump administration's evisceration of U.S. overseas aid has been presided over by a campaign ally who sowed a trail of enmity at multiple agencies during the first Trump presidency and has been publicly identified as allegedly having been present at the January 6th insurrection when rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol. Peter Marocco has accumulated power in the Office of Foreign Assistance, informally called F, that traditionally has helped coordinate U.S. foreign aid programs. But under Marocco, it has enforced a full-scale freeze on overseas aid and a stop work order that has in effect halted operations and already led to hundreds of layoffs in the United States and overseas, unquote.
Yep.
And the Trump administration is killing children around the world as a result.
Yeah. And we're last episode, I think we talked about, and we're not making light of this at all.
No.
But who will, in the end, will have been responsible for killing more people? Will it be Elon Musk? Will it be RFK Jr.? Mm-hmm. Because all of them are doing things that will have catastrophic, lethal downstream effects that will take effect either immediately, like USAID, or over the next generation. Even though measles outbreaks are now happening right now.
I was going to say, if all you care about is what happens in the lower 48,
right,
and that's your entire concern, I got one word for you: measles.
Yeah. February, because we're up to February now, was also when Trump took over the Kennedy Center and began mass firings there. Trump, writing on Truth Social, said he planned to make the Kennedy Center great again, all caps, by terminating multiple individuals from the Board of Trustees, including the chairman, who do not share our vision for a golden age of arts and culture. We've seen what the Oval Office looks like. We know what golden age means.
Golden age is a big deal to him.
Yeah. It's painting shit gold and sticking it on the wall.
Yeah.
He wrote that he planned to announce a new board with an amazing chairman, Donald J. Trump, adding the Kennedy Center is an American jewel, must reflect the highest, brightest stars on its stage from all across the nation. For the Kennedy Center, all caps, the best is yet to come! Exclamation point. Yeah.
And then he had the Kennedy Center honors in the Oval Office.
Yeah. Because
there won't be an audience at the Kennedy Center in New York.
What if they held the Kennedy Center honors?
He can't focus for more than 10 minutes.
Yeah. No,
they have Sylvester Stallone and Kid Rock standing behind him.
Yep.
And Kennedy Center honors, here we are.
Yay!
And
here you go.
It is. I mean, we aren't going to get into the Susie Wiles story today, but man, she is just propping that man up with a broomstick.
Yeah, and God knows what medication.
Honestly.
Anyway.
February is also when the network at that time known as MSNBC began a purge with some very clear characteristics. It's kind of funny.
Uh-huh.
From Ebony Magazine, quote, Joy Reid hosted her final show on MSNBC days after the network announced a purge of talent, including other non-white hosts, Ayman Moyaldin, Katie Fang, and Jonathan Capehart, to restructure its programming to sustain a recent viewership surge, consolidate production, and bring in high-profile names to attract audiences. The move has drawn sharp criticism from within and outside of the network. MSNBC host Rachel Maddow denounced the decision as indefensible and expressed concern over the impact on diversity in primetime programming. Former MSNBC host Keith Olbermann also condemned the network's actions, labeling them as a brutally racist purge, unquote.
You might also remember that on March 4th, 2025, Donald Trump addressed a joint session of Congress. And on March 6th, 2025, this is what David Brooks of the New York Times wrote about it. This is just one paragraph. Quote, I thought the Democrats should have just sat there. When Marjorie Taylor Greene behaved shamefully, a lot of progressive commentators were rightfully offended. Then last night you had the screaming and Al Green's removal. You have to have some intellectual consistency. You can't oppose Marjorie Taylor Greene and think what Al Green did was totally fine, unquote. Because a Nazi screaming at Biden and Al Green screaming at a Nazi are entirely the same thing. This is David Brooks's brain, because Mr. David Brooks is a clueless, opinionated old man deep in the bitter dregs of a long career of being wrong about every fucking thing. And now that the end of his career is so much closer than its beginning, he has no place to go but to the temple, to the God who he has worshipped his whole life. The God of both sides do it.
On March 23rd, the Pod Save lads continued their disreputable reputation rehabilitation project by inviting Mr. Glenn Greenwald to come on their little show and have his say.
Oh, joy, rapture.
No kidding. No kidding. 2025 was the year of uplifting people who should have been swept into the corner a long time ago. Because I swear to God, there's something in the air on that particular month, because March was also the month that Jim Acosta tried to help Steve Schmidt rehabilitate his terrible career for the fourth or fifth time.
You might also recall that March 2025 was the month when Pete Hegseth accidentally texted Jeffrey Goldberg his war plans for Yemen. This is from The Atlantic. Quote, "The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling by Jeffrey Goldberg," unquote.
And if you remember that at all, you probably remember that the MAGA media ecosystem reacted by violently attacking Jeffrey Goldberg. He's a liar. He's a spy. They should throw him in jail. On and on like that for, hundreds and hundreds of posts like that. And of course, on the right, the lies can never stop because that's what sustains them. So this is from Breitbart, March 5th, quote, "Trump reads out appalling examples of waste discovered by Doge. $8 million for making mice transgender," unquote. Oh my goodness. This is from Fox News, March 5th again, quote, $10 million in taxpayer funds spent creating transgender animals. Representative Nancy Mace, unquote. From the Daily Mail, March 5th, quote, "Shocking revelation. Woke Biden administration scientists spent millions turning monkeys and mice transgender. Nancy Mace makes stunning admission about trans lawmaker. South Carolina Republican Nancy Mace slammed the Biden administration for using more than $10 million in taxpayer money to fund painful and deadly transgender experiments on mice," unquote. Well, that's pretty bad, Blue Gal. That's pretty good. That is a genuine scandal, except for the fact that, of course, it never happened. Jeff Tiedrick responded, quote, excuse me, No. Nobody is spending government money to make mice transgender, you low-wattage dolt. The word is transgenic. Let's say you're a cancer research and you implant some human genetic material into mice in order to better study how cells mutate. Boom, you've just created transgenic mice. Nobody is doing sex change operations on mice and setting them loose in Nancy Mace's bathroom.
I'm disappointed.
I know.
I want them to take transgender mice and put them in Nancy Mace's congressional office.
I would love to see
they'll be in a cage. It's all right. I don't want to scare her.
No.
But she should have to look at transgender mice every goddamn day for the rest of her goddamn life.
Mickey, Minnie, who knows? Who can even say? Mr. Tiedrick continues. Reading comprehension, how does it work? How clown-fuckingly illiterate do you have to be to screw that up? And how hot do you have to be to demonize people that every time you see trans at the beginning of a word, your brain goes fuckity by and visions of entire teams of boy mice playing against girl mice and mouse schools across the nation dance in your head, unquote. They've even outlawed, Blue Gal, transitive verbs. And I'm very...
Transitive verbs, and what are we going to do then?
Who knows? Who knows?
So I think if you put the Republican conference under truth serum, many of them would admit that Nancy Mace's brain went fuckity by a long time ago.
She's nuts. She's broken. She's a broken, crazy person.
It is sad how broken she is.
Yeah.
But somebody elected her to Congress, and now she wants to be governor of South Carolina.
Yeah. Yes, she does.
On March 28th, there was this headline in Wired, quote, "Doge plans to rebuild Social Security Administration code base in months. risking benefits and system collapse. Social security systems contain tens of millions of lines of code written in COBOL, an archaic programming language. Safely rewriting that code would take years. Doge wants it done in months, unquote.
Just don't talk shit about COBOL, okay? You don't have to call
I won't.
it. Okay.
I won't.
Also in March, Fox News reported that Mr. Democracy Dies in Darkness had poured his troubled heart out to Donald Trump. Quote, Trump claims Bezos fretted to him about out-of-control people at the Washington Post. President Donald Trump said in a new interview that he was optimistic about his working relationship with Jeff Bezos, as well as the future of the Washington Post, claiming Bezos had even disparaged the newspaper staffers to him. They actually did a couple of bad articles on him, Bezos. Trump said in an interview with Outkick's Clay Travis, he said, "This is crazy. I lose my fortune running this thing, and they, Post newsroom employees, they're out of control. These people are crazy. They're crazy people. They're out of control," unquote, because I'm sure that's exactly what Jeff Bezos said to Donald Trump.
This April 8th, Associated Press headline, quote, former Senator Joe Manchin is working on a memoir. Dead Center is scheduled for release in September, unquote. In April, Illinois' own Republican Representative Mary Nazi Miller announced climate change is a sham. God controls the climate because he controls the sun, and the sun controls the weather, primarily.
Primarily.
I'm glad she hedged that a little bit.
There may be other forces at work. Maybe the devil. The devil might have something to do with it. Back in April, I predicted that when the hammer falls, Republican elites would retreat to their safe places and let MAGA meatheads be sacrificed. And as they take shelter from the storm, the rich beyond the dreams of avarice and secure far away from the catastrophe they've created, those Republican elites will be laughing all the way because no one has greater contempt for the expendable MAGA meatheads than their own fascist leaders. And so having fucked everything up again, when the meatheads show up at our door looking for relief again, confused and in denial again, still seething with contempt for us and their need for us to fix what they have broken again, and still infected with hate radio talking points like zombies carrying the plague, my advice was this.
Shun him. Drive him back into his jungle lair, for he is the harbinger of death.
On April 17th from Reuters, quote, U.S. Food and Drug Administration suspends food safety quality checks after staff cuts, unquote.
On Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, and the keynote speaker at the Sangamon County, Illinois Republican Lincoln Day dinner this year is a Fox News haircut named Joey Jones. And from his tweets, we know this about Joey. Joey loves his warrior brother, Whiskey Mango Hegseth. He loves the dear leader, and he despises Joe Biden. He was a huge hit with the local meatheads. This is the annual local Republican fundraiser, and their keynote speaker last year was Trump's very own, then soon-to-be brown shirt deportation goon, Tom Homan. The year before that, the headliner was serial liar and David Plouffe's former bestest podcast buddy, Kellyanne Conway. The year before that, it was Charlie Kirk. Before Charlie Kirk, it was Candace Owens. Before that, it was Jason Chaffetz, one-time congressperson and Fox News troll, who now, I believe, lives in Donald Trump's underwear drawer. The year before that, it was Fox News in-house train wreck barfly, and now the U.S. State's Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro. The year before that, Wingnut Network job hopper and H.R. Haldeman stunt double, and Kristi Noem's fascist with benefits travel companion, Corey Lewandowski. The year before that, in 2016, it was none other than Fox News primetime Gorgon and Keith Olbermann's former girlfriend, Laura Ingraham, and on and on and on. Year after year after year. So if you're ever curious about how we out here in the cornfields have been so consistently dead on accurate for decades with our predictions about the trajectory of the GOP, while our elite professional political media has been so repeatedly and catastrophically wrong about the GOP, it's actually pretty simple. Unlike our elite professional political media, we actually live out here in the real world, chock-a-block with real Republicans who have never been shy about what they really believe or telling us about them.
And Driftglass, I know this is a horrific list of right-wing celebrities that get paid to come here and give the speech, but I really think it's a lot less mysterious how they got that group of people to come speak.
Oh, yeah.
They have a budget of $35,000. They have one speakers bureau. It's the same person. They have a contact at that speakers bureau.
Mm-hmm.
And they have probably 2 names to choose from that will do it on their date for $35,000.
Well, somebody,
And
I believe that the
awful person.
when this made the actual paper, because it was Candace Owens, like, Jesus, you're really inviting Candace Owens? They asked the head of the Republican Sangamon Republican Party, why you're doing this? And she said, well, she's very popular with our members.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these people are not being thrust upon them unwillingly. These people are.
And I will say the reason it was questioned was she's black.
Yeah.
If Candace Owens saying everything Candace Owens says in exactly the same manner as Candace Owens, with the reach of Candace Owens, was a white person, it wouldn't have been in the paper, and it wouldn't have been questioned by anyone in the membership.
It was not questioned by anyone in the members. No, none of the members questioned it. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the reporter asked, Jesus, she's a little out there. I mean, aren't you concerned? Because there was some blowback from other people, like, you're inviting Candace Owens to talk to us?
No, there was some blowback within the Republican group, too. I know there was.
What I'm talking about is the blowback from outside the group, that she was so controversial at that time.
Right.
I hate to use that word, that, are you sure this is a good idea? And the head of the party said, well, our members really like her. This is for the members.
Yep.
So this is just to say, this is not an accident. These people are not one-off. This list is these people were called and paid to be here because Republicans at the grassroots level love these people.
Yep. And they so don't want mommy and mommy to fight.
Right.
That, Erica Kirk is going to be on the Candace Owens show. That's how bad things have got. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, for example, out here in farm country, it is common knowledge that most farmers are MAGA. And during his first term, Trump absolutely screwed American farmers with a completely unnecessary trade war with China that accomplished nothing. Farmers who had voted overwhelmingly for Trump. So Trump took our tax money and he bribed them. Under Biden, American farmers did considerably better. This is from NBC. Quote, farmers flourish under Biden. See recovery from Trump-era trade wars. The prices of corn and soybeans have increased and demand is up for American exports. We had farm income that was up by a pretty fair amount in 2021, almost to the record level of 2013, but not quite, said Patrick Westhoff, director of the University of Missouri's Food and Agricultural Policy Research Institute. By the way, what he's talking about is food inflation.
Right.
Part of that, of course, was continuing government payments, but there was a very strong recovery in both crop and livestock prices last year. Unquote. That's post-COVID in the demand going up again.
That's right.
So did American farmers finally figure out who's actually on their side? Whose word they can actually trust? Of course not. Turns out that 30 years of rural hate radio pumping Rush Limbaugh and all his imitators into the skulls of American farmers has built them into some of the stupidest rage-drunk idiots on planet Earth. From Investigate Midwest, November 13th, 2024, quote, Trump support grew in America's top farming counties despite first-term trade war. Farming-dependent counties rallied behind Trump with an average of nearly 78% support. Some political observers questioned whether Trump's support would wane among farmers after his first-term trade war, which led to increased prices and a drop in agricultural exports. During the campaign, Trump promised a return to high tariffs if given a second term. His policies didn't do us any good. His tariffs didn't do us any good. Lance Lillibridge, an Iowa farmer, told Investigate Midwest. Not only did Trump increase his support among farming-dependent counties, but more than 100 of those counties supported him with at least 80% of their vote, unquote. And again, This is where the Democratic president needs to take his power. And Donald Trump won't give any money to blue states.
No, he in
just
fact
won't. Farmers need to come to Washington and go on camera in front of the Democratic president, on camera in a round table, and explain why they voted for Trump.
Twice.
And how we're going to fix this. How are we going to fix what the person you voted for broke? Up.
Yeah. Well, and
they have to admit that on camera.
It isn't just that blue states are being threatened. Remember, he threatened to take all Indiana's federal money away if they didn't pass his gerrymandering plan.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back for them. Yeah. I mean, that threat just, solidified their resistance to doing this, which is a very Midwest thing, by the way.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
So go ahead and push us that far.
So getting back to 2025.
Yep.
This is from CNBC, April 26, 2025. What happened? Quote, agriculture isn't near trade war tariff crisis. It's full-blown crisis already, farmers say. The global backlash to President Trump's tariffs is punishing U.S. agriculture, especially a decline in Chinese buying of U.S. farm products. A leading agricultural export group says massive losses are already racking up at farms, with canceled orders, pricing pressure as demand slumps, and layoffs, as China stops buying products from pork to hay and straw and lumber. No one can replace all the volume that China buys, one farmer operator reported, unquote.
Hey, but don't worry, kids. Trump stands ready once again to steal billions of your tax dollars and hand them over to the same inbred meathead farmers who voted for him again. But, how are we going to pay for ACA subsidies? We've got to find a clawback to pay for that. This is from Axios, quote, Trump ready to bail out farmers amid trade war squeeze, Rollins says. President Trump is prepared to bail out American farmers if the trade war continues squeezing commodity exports. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said Sunday. Why it matters, because this is Axios. Exports of key commodities are plunging, particularly soybean and pork sales to China, threatening tens of billions of dollars in farm income, unquote. By the way, the bribe, farmers are telling Trump the bribe isn't big enough.
It's not enough. It's not even near enough.
Even a fraction of what we need, right?
Give us triple that. Give it to us.
Now, that brings us to the end of April 2025. We're just 1/3 of the way through this awful year, and we haven't even mentioned RFK Jr. or Olivia Nuzzi yet.
Yeah, but perhaps we will, Blue Gal. Perhaps we will. On the next tour de force installment of the Professional Left's 2025 Year in Review.
Which will happen on Thursday.
Which will happen on Thursday.
What are we doing this week, Driftglass?
It's going to be a busy week this week. It's already been a busy week this week. We're going to be on with Mr. Bob Seska tomorrow. We always look forward to being on with Bob and hearing back from him and his listeners. It's always a ball. He's an excellent host. And I will be on the Bradcast on Thursday afternoon. So Tuesday, this is us doing this today. Wednesday, we're on with Seska. Thursday, Bradcast and the Professional Left Podcast. Friday, we sleep for a month. So that's the plan.
Friday, we sleep for a month, and we'll see about a podcast during Christmas week. We'll try to do one. Yeah. I think that's the plan.
Given how 2025 is going and how we're going, month by month, trying to sort of explain what the hell is happening and what happened this year, we might end up doing three.
This might be a 3-part podcast, is what he's saying. Yeah, we'll do the best we can. Look, keep your Cricky Awards, best and worst of the year suggestions coming. There have been a lot of them, good ones over at patreon.com/proleftpod. I was informed that if you are not a Patreon supporter, you can't leave a comment there. I didn't know that. You can read anything we do, but you can't comment. So if you're not a Patreon supporter or unable to be a Patreon supporter, or you give out another way, and thank you very much for doing that, you can leave a comment over at our YouTube channel as well, underneath this podcast, and we get those. So we do appreciate you. Or you can just email us. Feel free to write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. We do love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service. Go Postal Unions! Letter on the air unless you say otherwise.
And please share this show on social media if you can. And if you love this podcast, please get someone else to listen to it as well. And thank you for doing that.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties say 2025 has already lasted 116 cat years.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
Professional Left Podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.